Hello, and welcome to 10x Copywriting. Today, we are going to start section 2 of this 4-section course. And today, we're going to talk about the basics of putting the actual sales page together. In the last section, we did a whole lot of work on research. We did a whole lot of work on defining our perfect customer. And we did a whole lot of brainstorming so that we can find the pain points and we can find the solutions that our products and our services are offering to our ideal customer. And now we're going to take a whole lot of that brainstorming, a whole lot of that information, and start piecing it together. So we're still not quite at the part where we're going to start writing our sales pages and we're going to start putting words onto paper. What we're doing here is just defining what the sections of our sales page are going to be so that when we actually get to that step, it's not going to be so intimidating. So on that note, let's get started. The first slide, writing a sales page is a huge waste of time. And this is true. The reason why so many people struggle with writing sales pages is because they try to sit down and they try to write the whole page from beginning to end. And it's impossible. Writing a sales page from front to back is a very intimidating process. It's daunting. It's very wasteful because what ends up happening is all of your thoughts aren't as neatly defined, and it's very hard to articulate your entire message. And if you actually go about this route, it's going to take you 10, sometimes 15 drafts of writing your sales copy to get to the point where it feels like it actually makes sense, where it feels like you're actually presenting the solution to your prospect. In that same kind of relationship, that means that your sales page is going to be very inaccurate. You're not going to be able to portray exactly the solutions in the way that are going to appeal to your customer. It's not good for the reader. When you're trying to write your sales page from front to back, what happens is it gets filled with a lot of jargon and it gets filled with a lot of personal anecdotes and a lot of stories. And although stories certainly have a time and a place for copy and for audience building, when it comes to your sales pages in particular, you want to talk about them. You only want to talk about them. And in my experience, when people sit down and just say, okay, I'm going to start writing my sales copy, just by default, what happens is we start talking about ourselves and we start talking about our own experiences. And this is not what you want to do. It's also not good for the writer because it's so intimidating and it can take so long that I have made the mistake of trying to do that. And eventually I just get frustrated and I say, you know what I have is good enough. I'm just going to hit publish. Done is better than perfect, right? But when it comes to sales copy, good enough isn't nearly good enough because it either sells or it doesn't. And so with a half-finished sales page that you feel okay about, sure, you might stumble across some sales, but the reality is that an inadequate sales page is almost a waste of time. It's detrimental to your business because you wasted time and money putting something together that isn't even creating any returns. And overall, it's just a really bad idea. To put simply, trying to sit down and write a sales page is just a really, really stupid idea. There's much better ways to go about it. And that's what, from here on out, we're going to start putting together. Copy is not written. This is a great, great quote by Eugene Schwartz. And I have put the quote here, which I'm just going to read out to you in full, because once you understand this aspect of putting your sales pages together, suddenly all the possibilities open up to you. At least I hope that they're going to open up to you in the same way that they have opened up for me. So to quote the great Eugene Schwartz, copy is not written. If anyone tells you you write copy, sneer at them. Copy is not written. Copy is assembled. You do not write copy, you assemble it. You are working with a series of building blocks. You are putting the building blocks together, and then you are putting them in certain structures. You are building a little city of desire for your person to come and live in. What a beautiful quote, written in a way that only Eugene Schwartz could write it. It sings, doesn't it? That section, it really flows. It has such a cadence to it. And it's the truth. Sales pages are built in building blocks. And once you know what the blocks are, you can create the blocks individually, and then you can assemble them. And once you can separate them, you can perfect each individual building block as an autonomous entity, as opposed to just trying to write a sales page. Again, writing a sales page is just a really dumb idea, but creating blocks, creating a little city of desire for your person to come live in, that is an excellent idea. All right. We're going to do a quick recap. And I wouldn't actually, excuse me, this isn't a recap. This is just a high level review of some of the exercises that we went over in the previous section, because there's a big thought experiment that we did that everything is copy. Everything that you write, all the conversations that you have, all the ideas that you share with people, the emails that you send back and forth with colleagues, once you start approaching the world and approaching life through this lens that everything is copy, suddenly the world opens up to you in terms of opportunity, because you know how to communicate with the world in a way that serves the world, that serves people, and brings abundance to yourself. All right. So we know that everything is copy, but that doesn't necessarily help you in solving your particular problem right now. You still need to have a framework to understand how to navigate different situations better, and what rules to apply in certain situations. So I break it down. I break copy in the context of growing our businesses down into 4 sections. The first section is your rented audience. This is the audience that you build using other people's platforms, using third-party platforms. So this is social media. This is Facebook. This is Twitter. This is other people's podcasts. So if somebody asks you to be a guest on their podcast, you're essentially renting their audience for a brief moment of time. And this is press releases. So being published in other magazines, having stories written about you, even being published in local newspapers, this is also very valuable, but it's not owned. It's not yours. It's still rented audience. Okay, up next is the owned audience. We're going from the left side, top to bottom, and then the right side, top to bottom. So your owned audience is your email list. Your owned audience is your blog. It's the content that you put on a website that is hosted on a server that you pay for, on a domain that you've purchased. Your owned audience is your podcast. Although podcasts technically are syndicated through RSS feeds, I still consider them owned, because there's just no way for a third party to kind of steal that audience from you. It's just, for technical reasons, you still have to siphon the content through an RSS feed. And then YouTube is a little bit half and half. There are ways that a YouTube algorithm can basically steal your audience for you, but the nature of YouTube is very personal. And so people really follow brands on YouTube, as opposed to like social media, where they're just following like a live kind of feed, like a random feed, or TikTok. And so I put YouTube as kind of. Anyway, that's your owned audience. One step further is your owned sales distribution. So this is the mechanism in which you can promote your product or your services. And notice there's some overlap here. And this is intentional. The reason why I itemized them like this is to show you that it's not very cut and dry. Not everything is going to fit into its cozy little compartment. There's nuance, there's overlap into these different sections. And so your owned sales distribution is your email list, is your blog, is your podcast. And as we're going to see in the next slide, we're going to treat our email list differently when we're trying to sell something than we would maybe if we're just trying to spread content through a newsletter. So it's all about context. And then there's your owned conversion. So this is the spot where sales happen. This is your sales letter. These are maybe a basic sales page. This is your e-commerce store when somebody might be buying a physical product or even a digital product, and the product itself has some of the benefits and features listed on it. This could be a t-shirt, or this could be an ebook. That actual product page is technically a sales page. And so this is your owned conversion. So you have your rented audience, you have your owned audience, you have your owned sales distribution, and your owned conversion. So up next, I'd like to really highlight my artistic ability to show you the flow. This is the section of all my presentations where I remind everybody that I am not a designer, which is why my slides are always so boring, but in my view, very effective. So I drew this beautiful little diagram on a piece of paper, took a picture of it, and turned it into a slide. The point that I'm trying to convey here is that no matter what kind of content you are creating, everything is copy, right? So no matter what it is that you're creating, everything can still serve as a mechanism for conversion. So I think I have my mouse. I think I can do, I'm not even gonna bother, but if you follow my mouse, I was gonna do the little red laser pointer, but I'm gonna mess that up. If you follow my mouse, you have rented. So this is social, press, other pods, and the arrow flows to your owned audience. So just because you're creating copy on a rented platform doesn't mean that there's not a conversion attached to it. So you can convert this attention into your owned audience, which means a subscriber to your own email list, a subscriber to your blog, a subscriber to your own podcast. And you can also convert this attention directly to your owned conversion, which is basically your sales letter. Okay, and so moving on. Let's say you're creating content on your owned audience, right? Which is maybe you're writing a blog post, maybe you're publishing a podcast. Well, that attention can also be driven directly to your sales letter, or it can be driven to your owned sales distribution, which again is an email list, is a blog, is a podcast, it's text messages. So you see how there's like a lot of overlap here and there's a lot of nuance. And then of course your sales distribution can send attention and traffic directly to your sales letter. So the point I'm trying to make here through this kind of esoteric exercise is that everything is copy and everything has a conversion attached to it. What I want to get everybody out of the habit of is thinking that you just create content for the sake of creating content because you're adding value. Like, yes, that is true, but the reality is if you're methodical about it and you treat everything you create as a piece of copy, then you are assigning some kind of conversion to it. It doesn't mean that a post on social media is going to turn into a $10,000 a month client. That's not the point. The point is that everything is done with intention. Everything is copy. All right, so I'm going to give you guys some examples. I'll put the links here so that I don't forget. And these are all personal examples. So I might click off the slides. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. Yep. Okay. So you know what? I'll just open these all up ahead of time so that we can review them. I thought it was going to link out properly, but it did not. All right. So the first one is Twitter converts to email. So this is this mechanism. This is rented attention being converted into an owned audience. So this is a Twitter thread that I posted just this morning. So you can see this Twitter thread got about 33,000 views. There was 8 sections to it. And at the end of this thread, of course, I put a link to my newsletter. So typically every time I do something like this will get maybe 20 or 30 subscribers. I don't have the data right in front of me, but the point is that I created content on a rented platform and converted that content into an owned audience. Okay, so up next is blog content that converts to an email list. So this is just an article that I wrote on my blog post. My blog posts generate a pretty decent amount of SEO traffic. And so every day I'll get maybe 6 to 7 email subscribers from my blog. And this really, really stacks up because SEO, once you do the work, time works in your favor. So it just continues to generate more and more subscribers. The point is, this is an owned piece of content that gets turned into an owned sales distribution. So this is right here, owned audience into owned sales distribution. Okay, up next, we have a blog post that converts traffic to a sales page. And this is Copyblogger. So I'm trying to show you examples of work that I've actually done. So on every blog post that we publish on Copyblogger, we put a call to action right here, which generates traffic to our lead form page on digital commerce. So this is our agency. This is the service work that we do. And right here is where people generate leads. And then the last example is an email that is sent directly to a sales page. So this is right here. This is your sales distribution that funnels to a conversion. And the reason why I use this example is because a lot of us are very familiar with this idea for selling digital products, selling membership sites, selling courses, selling a download, whatever. But it's not, people don't see this quite in the same lens when it comes to selling services. And so for that reason, I wanted to give an example of an email that I sent just yesterday. So this is Stasi, this is my marketing agency. And this email was very short. I put a link to an article because the content was about how people need to be careful using AI for SEO. But the call to action right here, book a call, goes to my owned sales mechanism. And this is where people book appointments for calls and how I generate my leads. And yes, this email booked one appointment. I don't know if it'll turn into a client or not. It's usually like a 50% chance that leads come in here. So there's a 50% chance that that email turned into a client. I hope that all sums it up for you. The whole exercise is that everything is copy. Everything we do has some kind of conversion, and all of the content we create fits into one of these 4 different compartments. Okay. Now, we've established that everything is copy. Now let's look at more technical sales copy. Now we're going to start learning about how the sales pages themselves are formulated and how they work. Okay, headlines. Everybody knows about headlines. Everybody knows how important they are, but nobody knows how to write them. Every copywriting guru in the world tells you headlines, 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 but nobody helps you put formulas together for you to be able to write them. And so I am going to give you some of the basic formulas that are going to help you every time. The purpose of the headline is to get people to stop what they're doing and start reading or watching or listening to whatever it is that you put in front of them. My 2 favorite examples of attention, like instant change of attention, is the word fire and the word fumble. If you remember in the last section, we talked about how all decisions that people make are really based on fear or are based on desire. Or some people even say everything we do is done out of either love or fear. And I just think those 2 words are such perfect representations of that. If you're in a public place and somebody screams fire, everybody stops what they're doing and looks for a fire instead. If you're hanging out with your friends and it's football Sunday and you hear fumble, there's just no word that I have found in the English language that gets everybody's attention so captivated and so excited about something that might have just happened. So the 2 emotional examples that I like to use when I'm trying to write headlines and I'm thinking, am I evoking an emotion here? I think, is there a fire? Is there a fumble? And if the headline I'm writing evokes one of those emotions, I know that I'm on the right track. Also, don't yell fire in a public place. It's very illegal. And don't tell them that I told you to do that, because that is not true. All right. The secret to a great headline. Like I just said, headlines connect emotionally. People don't buy things that they need. People buy things that evoke them. People buy things that they connect to emotionally. Another way of saying that is a great headline targets a fear or a desire. Remember, fires or fumbles. Everybody's afraid of fire, and everybody loves when their team recovers a fumble. It's one of the most exciting things that can happen. Or something that they're scared of, or something that they want. Fear or love. Now, let's look at some templates. 90% of the headlines that I write, I use these templates for. There's thousands and thousands of templates, I'm sure. I don't pay attention to a whole lot of them. I use basically these templates over and over and over again. So the first one, how to get desire. This is a great headline for blog posts. This is a great headline for sales pages. This is a great headline if you have written an article and you're publishing that on social media. A little bit, one step more advanced from that. Oh, excuse me. And then I have examples on the right-hand side. So how to get desire, how to get more clients, right? If I create an article about that and the headline is just how to get more clients, it'll get some clicks. It'll raise some eyebrows for sure, because it's creating an emotion around the desire. Up next, how to desire in as little as time. Time is always a huge factor. You know, I could tell you that I'll give you $1,000 for free. And you'll say, oh my God, that sounds great. And I'll say, yeah, the catch is you just have to wait 10 years. And then you're probably going to go, I don't want that. I don't want to wait 10 years for $1,000. That's basically a waste of time. And so time is a huge factor in headlines. So how to desire in as little as time. How to get more clients in as little as 30 days. Now we're still creating an emotional connection, but we're also creating a time element to it, which is very powerful. This next one, how to get desire in as little as time, even if rebuttal. So this is a really, really great way to answer the rebuttal before it even gets there. How to get more clients in as little as 30 days, even if you have no advertising budget. This is going to kill the rebuttal for 90% of the potential clients that you're working towards, because the biggest problem for people that don't have enough clients is they don't have enough revenue to invest in promoting themselves. And so this instantly is going to squash or quarrel at least half of the rebuttals that that people could argue against mentally and emotionally if they're looking at purchasing your product. And then my favorite one, my absolute favorite headline, is how to desire in as little as time without pain. So this word without, we're going to revisit, which is why I didn't give an example. Now that I'm looking at it, I kind of wish I did give an example. So I'll just tell it real quick. So how to get more clients in as little as 30 days, even if you have no advertising budget, without walking door to door or bothering people. That was just off the top of my head. But do you see how the pain that I naturally associate with it is removed? Most of the time, people have a hard time getting clients because they feel this terror, they feel this pain of in-person sales. And so I've removed the rebuttal and I've removed the pain all in one shot. How to get clients in as little as 30 days, even if you have no advertising budget. And then really this would be a sub-headline that says, without knocking door to door or begging people for their business. Or maybe I would say without knocking door to door or taking low paying clients that bother you on the weekends. You know, I'm removing the pain and I'm removing the rebuttal. All right. Section 2, sales formulas that never fail. This is probably, other than headlines, this is the second most useful piece of information that you will gather from here. And the trick here is that people are the same now as they were 100,000 years ago. These sales formulas are always going to work. It's always going to be tried and true. People refrain from using them because they're scared about repeating themselves. And I am telling you right here, right now, feel free to repeat yourself, use it over and over and over and over again, because it's always going to be effective, because people don't change. At least who we are as a species doesn't change, is a better way to put it. All right, here we go. This is my favorite formula. This is the one that I use probably 70% of the time. There's two others which I didn't put in here. If you would like to learn these two others, feel free to DM me on the platform on copybloggeracademy.com. But my favorite sales formula is shock, define, agitate, and solve. Step one, shock them. If there's no fire, if there's no fumble, then nobody cares. People are going to continue going about their business. If they're in the grocery store, they're doing what they're doing. As soon as somebody yells fire, then they all stop and they look around. If they're at the party and they're in the kitchen having a conversation, unless there's fumble, nobody's going to run into the living room to look at the TV in excitement. So you have to shock them. Doesn't mean that you have to be rude. Doesn't mean that you have to be abrasive. It just means that you need to get their attention. And there's ways to do this. Step two is define the problem that they face and clearly define it. This becomes so much easier when we've done all of the work that we did in section one, because without truly knowing exactly who it is that we're speaking to, it's very difficult for us to define their problem specifically, because you could, remember we talked about micro niches, right? So if you don't have the micro niche, then you don't know exactly who it is that you're speaking to. You could be speaking to a niche, but it's too broad of a niche. So you have to have your micro niche to define the problem. Step three, you make the problem worse. This doesn't mean literally make the problem worse. It means make them feel the pain that the problem is bringing into their life. And step four, solve the problem by presenting the product or service, which is basically your product or service, which is their solution. Okay, so up next, we're going to have to read a bit together. And it's going to be a little dry, but it's going to be worth it. So this is an example I pulled from one of my products. This is my product, Agency Secrets. I talked about it in the last section. And even in section 3, when we start building our sales page, I'm going to use this as an example. I basically wrote it so that we could use it in this example. So here's the shocking statement. Did you know that most people who start marketing agencies fail miserably? Boom, got your attention. It's true. Most of them end up going out of business. The ones that stay in business are usually working 60 hours a week and end up making less money than they would if they simply had a day job. Definitely got my ideal prospect's attention. Somebody who's trying to start a marketing agency right away. Oh my God, there's a fire. My business is going to fail miserably. Statistically speaking, I am in big trouble. What do I got to do? So up next, we're going to define. So I'm stacking them on top of each other here. So I'm just going to read the define aspect. Here's the problem you face. As a marketing agency, you are still essentially trading your time for money. So in order to make more money, you have to work more hours. Who the hell wants to do that? I created a marketing agency. I'm scared that I'm going to fail. And if I don't fail, it means that my time is gone because I can only make as much money as I can work hours in the day. I've got their attention. I've defined the problem. Agitate. Now, like you piss them off, basically. I'm sorry to use such vulgarity there, but you don't want to go light on it. This is a big problem. And if this problem doesn't get solved, it's going to have a huge detriment. It's going to add a huge detriment to their life. So the agitation here is, which means you'll never be able to step away from work and you'll never be able to make huge profits. The whole reason that most people start their own marketing agencies is because they want to work when they want to work. They want to have utility and command over their life and their time. But now you're telling me that I'm probably going to fail and I haven't actually solved the problem of working hourly at my job. And now that, to make it worse, to make matters worse, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life and I'm not even going to make any money. Oh my God, this is terrible. Like, this is an awful spot for me to be in. Luckily for you, There's a solution. Let me introduce you to Agency Secrets, a brand new program that teaches you how to create systems, processes, and sales procedures so you can get out of the day-to-day of agency work and you can focus on growing your business. I've solved the problem. I've presented them with a solution. The solution is create systems, processes, and sales procedures so that you can get out of the day-to-day of agency work and you can focus on growing your business. Let's just revisit. Okay. Shocking statement. Define the problem. Agitate them, piss them off. Present a solution. Use this formula over and over and over again. It's never going to go out of style. I promise. As you get more sophisticated, you can use other formulas. There's a bridge formula. There's other ways that you can do this. But for me, I use this formula basically every time, if I'm being honest. I can think of like 2 examples of sales pages that I've written where I used other sales formulas, but this one is my favorite, and it's the one that I'm just always going to use. Up next, let's talk about bullet points. Before we go here, you can't look in the closet. Do not look in the closet. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Don't look in the closet. Now, what's going on in your brain? Why? Why can't I look in the closet? What's in the closet? What aren't you telling me? You want to know what's in the closet, don't you? Most of you aren't even anywhere near a closet, but emotionally, you feel like there's something going on that you don't know. The first response is always going to be, what's in the closet? This is very, very important. Bullet points build curiosity so that you can create pressure. The more I tell you not to look in the closet, especially if this is like a real world scenario, right? If we're actually sitting in a living room and there's a closet, the more I tell you not to look in the closet, the more it's going to bother you. We're using bullet points to generate that pressure. We're using bullet points to make it so that you say to yourself, oh, I just can't take it anymore. I got to know what this product is. I got to know what this service is. I have to know how it's going to help me. You can also use bullet points to convey important information. This includes features and benefits. Features do get listed in the bullet points. However, I want to make it totally clear that the most important part of your benefits, of your bullet points, is to list benefits. There is one exception. Oh, damn it, I got a little typo there. There is one exception of where to use bullet points that aren't building curiosity and that aren't listing benefits, but we're going to talk about that next week. Bullet points list benefits and not features. This is so important. And this is something that every time I talk about creating sales pages and every time I talk about copy, everybody says like, yeah, I know what you mean. But even still, it's probably the most common mistake that I see made on sales pages. We just can't help ourselves because we think about things in terms of what they are, not necessarily what they do. And so double, triple check your bullets to make sure that you're listing the benefits. So just to get down to the nitty gritty here, what's the difference? A feature is what something is. A benefit is what something will do for you. So I put 2 examples here. A feature is a carbon fiber hood on a car, probably a race car. That's exactly what it is. It's the hood of your car and it's made out of carbon fiber. The benefit is that it increases your gas mileage and your top speed off the starting line. The reason why you would buy a carbon fiber hood isn't because you want a carbon fiber hood. It's because you want to go fast off the starting line. It's because you want to increase the speed of your car. And that is the benefit of that particular hood. Here's another example. One-on-one individual counseling. This is an example that I see a lot with my company as we work in mental health and behavioral health space. Nobody cares about that. This is such a mistake that I see on a lot of different businesses and websites that I work with, is they all list the features of their programs, but nobody cares about the features. They want the benefits. So the benefit of getting one-on-one individual counseling is you build tools of emotional strategies that help you better manage stress. Basically, you have an emotional toolbox to help you better manage your life. That is a benefit. There is a third aspect to bullet points, which is meaning. And in my view, this is even more important than features and benefits really combined. A lot of us get stuck on the idea of features and benefits because it's just, as copywriters, we've heard that over and over and over again. But you could also make the argument that the benefit is pretty irrelevant because nobody actually cares about going fast off the starting line. They care about the feeling that they get by going fast off the starting line. The carbon fiber hood is the feature. The benefit is fast acceleration off the starting line, but even the benefit within itself is pretty irrelevant. What we're chasing is the feeling that the benefit gives us. So the feeling is that rush of adrenaline, that feeling of victory when you won your illegal streetcar race in South Philly. It's that feeling of victory and bragging rights that you get when you get out of the car and you get to celebrate. The meaning is actually what's most important. And this is such like a quote unquote secret. This is such a hack that so few copywriters pay attention to or really take advantage of. But in my view, the meaning is more important than the features and the benefits combined. Oh, well, here we go. The meaning is the most important part because the meaning connects with them on an emotional level. I think I just explained that, but I did not click through to the slide. All right, so here's your formula. I kept this one very simple without giving you too many examples, just because one example is enough where you can use this framework and come back to it over and over again. So bullet point formula with features, benefits, and meaning. It blank feature, so you can benefit, which means meaning. So the example I came up with, an all-in-one billing platform, so you can get your invoices paid automatically, which means you'll never be left chasing clients for money again. How many of you have to chase clients for money? How many of you have had the experience where you're shuffling invoices and maybe you wrote down something on a piece of paper and you created an invoice on another piece of paper, but what if I gave you an all-in-one billing platform so you can get your invoices paid automatically? We have the feature, an all-in-one billing platform, so you can, which is the benefit, get your invoices paid automatically, which means you'll never be left chasing clients for money again. That line right there is the feeling. That's the emotion. Imagine how good it would feel to get all of your invoices paid automatically, to have your entire invoicing software done for you, and to have all of that time and to relieve yourself of all of that stress that chasing clients for money usually creates. Feature, benefit, meaning. And the meaning is actually the part which is incentivizing them to buy your service or product. When it comes to bullet points, this is something, if you remember in the last section, we talked about really pushing yourself in your brainstorming. We talked about really pushing yourself to come up with as many examples as possible. Bullet points follow that same rule. You can come up with 5 bullet points pretty easily, but it's when you get to 10 bullet points, 15, 30 bullet points, where now all of a sudden you're saying, I'm coming up with benefits and features and meanings that I didn't even necessarily know were here. And that's really, really, really where you get the gold. And so for that reason, that's why I only wanted to list one example, because I want you, when you're doing this, to push yourself, to really, really push yourself and to come up with meaning that you didn't even think of, because that's truly where the gold is. Up next, testimonials. Testimonials are important because we are all cattle. We have no free will and no association. We all act accordingly. There's a really fascinating concept with testimonials that I just find to be so cool. And it's something that I've just thought about this a lot. And it's this concept of synchronicity. So you ever notice on a warm summer day that the fireflies start lighting up at the same time? And then you see this boom, boom, boom. You ever notice how if you're at a concert and the singer of the band starts asking the crowd to sing, and somehow 30,000 people who none of which can sing all sing in perfect pitch, basically? I remember this, I went and saw Paul McCartney, and I could not believe the fact that I was in a stadium and everybody had the perfect pitch for the Hey Jude part. It blew my mind. I thought, why does that happen? There's a phenomenon called murmuration. We've all seen it with birds, where birds are in a flock, and then suddenly, without being able to talk to each other and without being able to communicate what the next step is, all of the birds change direction at the same exact time. It's called murmuration. And there's lots and lots of examples of people in rooms clapping in unison as they're applauding. All right, watch what happens.
See if you can spot the phase transition.
Cracks me up.
This phenomenon of synchronicity.
This happens all the time. This happens everywhere. All over the universe. There's a strange phenomenon of synchronicity. So why the hell does this happen? And what does this have to do with testimonials? Well, what's actually going on is that people, animals, atoms, fireflies, sounds, all do what the person next to them is doing. So it's not actually about entire systems becoming in sync with each other, acting in synchronicity. It's the fact that every individual piece of whatever system is directly influenced by the one that is in closest proximity to itself. So that's why birds all fly in a new direction in murmuration at the same time. It's got nothing to do with the fact that they're communicating. It's got everything to do with the fact that the bird does what the bird next to it does, and that bird does what the bird next to it does. So this is why testimonials are so important, because not even as people, as just beings in the universe, we are all susceptible to this proclivity to do what the person next to us does. All right, so with that really cool concept put out there, you have to understand that testimonials are about proof. There's a few different types of testimonials. There's, I was here, and now I have these results. These are the most basic testimonials you can get, and these are the most useful because they just show basic proof that somebody else did what you are offering, and they got this result. They got the desire. They got the fumble. There's also business referrals. I like to put these on here because by nature, testimonials for selling like digital products and for selling services are a little bit different. And the best testimonials you can get are from current or previous clients. And again, talking about the results. I think it's important to make the distinction between like a customer and a client, and business clients in any kind of B2B or even B2C service business are just super, super valuable testimonials. My recommendation is if you have a Google My Business page, get people to leave reviews and testimonials on your GMB page and then use them as screenshots. It's just an easy way to kind of keep them all in the same place. Celebrity testimonials, because for some reason we think that famous people mean more than other people do. And we do. I do as well. I see a celebrity testimonial and it just grabs my attention. Tony Robbins is like a master at this. He spends a ton of money and a ton of resources getting celebrity testimonials. But the reason why I wanted to put this here is because every industry has like quote unquote celebrities, right? There's thought leaders, there's influencers, and it's worth spending money if you need to. It's worth giving away free products it's worth like really going above and beyond in a particular instance to get a testimonial from somebody who has some kind of status or some kind of clout. They don't have to be a celebrity. You know, it doesn't have to be Miley Cyrus, but there are status symbols in all industries. And so finding those people and those testimonials can make a big difference. And then finally is statistics. There's a reality here that if you're a new business or you're a new product, well, how am I going to get testimonials from something that is brand new? And statistics in this case are really your secret weapon. So I'll show you some examples. All right, let's talk about statistics. Statistics are a great way to show proof, because that's what testimonials are. Testimonials are showing proof to the person next to us that we got our desired result through taking this specific action. Statistics are a great way to show proof when you are launching a new product or haven't yet gotten any personal testimonials. So I grabbed some random statistics from the internet about different industries or, like different concepts. So number one, self-described healthy people are 20% happier than average, while unhealthy people are 8.25% less happy. If I'm creating some kind of health and fitness product and I don't have any personal testimonials, don't you think that that shows itself as proof that my product is worth buying? Of course it does. The statistic is proof. All right, here's one on copywriting. Personalized calls to action, or CTAs, increase conversion chances by 202%. If I'm trying to sell a product to teach people how to create better calls to action, don't you think that statistic would serve as a good testimonial? Of course it would. It's basically a self-answering question. All right, and last but not least, home ownership increased from a low of 63.7% in 2016 to 64.9% in 2019. And the primary residence continued to be the largest asset on a balance sheet of households in 2019, according to the 2019 survey of consumer finances. So if I am maybe trying to convince somebody to buy a home, or even if I'm selling some kind of product to show people how to use real estate to increase your wealth, or even if I'm a mortgage broker, don't you think that statistic that homeownership is the greatest source of wealth in the American middle class would help sway somebody to either believe in my product or my brokerage service, or even just a piece of advice that I'm trying to give a friend? Of course it would. Remember, testimonials are proof. It's nothing more than that. All you're doing is you're proving that, to say again, because this whole idea of synchronicity is really important. All testimonials do is they prove that the person next to you, even though we're on the internet, it's a metaphor, right? The person next to you achieved this desired outcome by taking this desired action. And by nature, you're going to mimic those people. Your ideal customer is going to mimic that adjacent person next to them. Last but not least, let's talk about guarantees. I shouldn't have done this. The most impossible word to spell correctly on the first try, which is true. I don't think I've ever once in my life spelled this word properly. All right, guarantees are about negating risk. Bonus points, 100 points for anybody that knows where the phrase "fear is the mind killer" comes from. And I was inspired by this phrase, and I was inspired by the poem associated with this phrase, if you will, to use the word "risk is a sales killer." And it is. Nothing is going to kill your sales like risk. People will do anything. If there's a benefit that is risk-free, everybody would do it every single time, always. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't anybody do something that's good for them if there's no risk attached to it? Of course you would. Risk is the sales killer. There's 4 types of guarantees, and they all apply differently. In most cases, if we're selling a digital product, we're going to use one certain type of guarantee. but there's other instances in which other guarantees are more applicable. The first is the unconditional guarantee. This is the strongest type of guarantee. And if you're brave enough, this is the guarantee that I hope you will use. Basically, it's unconditional. I don't have to explain it that much more. It means cancel anytime. It means a full refund, no questions asked. It means if we don't X by Y, we will Z. There's no conditions attached to it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the fact that there's no rules attached to it. There's just no conditions. So, a full refund could be like, if we don't achieve this desired result by this desired timeline, then we will do this particular thing. It's still unconditional. So it's important to do the math on this, because when it comes to unconditional guarantees, people get really scared because they think to themselves, geez, how can I put myself out there like that? Everybody's just going to take advantage of me. And this isn't true. People, for the most part, are honest and mean well. Yes, there will be people who take advantage of you. It happens to me with the Copy Blogger Academy all the time. But the numbers are really all you need to care about. So it's very simple math. Just do the math. Let's imagine you have a $100 product. And let's imagine that you put no stipulation on it. Let's say it's a membership site like Copy Blogger Academy, and you say you can get a full refund at any time, no questions asked, meaning people 3 years from now can reach out to me and get a full refund no matter what. Well, if the guarantee doubles my sales, but the refund rate is up by 30%, which, by the way, is an insanely high refund rate. That's just not going to happen because most people aren't like that. It's very, very rare that you're going to have people straight up take advantage of you. But the math is there. So even if there are people that take advantage of you, who cares? Because the additional revenue that you generated by giving an unconditional guarantee is still going to put you ahead in the money. So you doubled your sales. So you made 10 more sales. You made an extra $1,000. Your refunds went up by 30%. So now you have an extra $300 a month in refunds. Okay, cool. Your additional profit is $700. I used even numbers here because I'm terrible at math, but the point is it's not risky as long as the math lines up. Now, if you're putting yourself in a real precarious situation where you put an unconditional guarantee out there on like a $10,000 deal, and it's going to cost you $5,000 to serve the deal, and they can ask for a full refund a year later, well, I wouldn't advise that you do that, because getting taken advantage of one time, the consequences of that are so like punishing that it can take you out of business. So be smart, use your head, but don't be afraid of the kickback. Don't be afraid of the people that are going to take advantage of you, because as long as the math works out, who cares? You're still winning in the end. All right. There's a conditional guarantee. There's just some terms and conditions to it. This is a 30-day trial. This is, if you did all the work I requested and you still aren't satisfied, I will issue you a full refund. So it's not quite saying that you get a full refund no matter what. Let's say you have a program put together and your client, let's say you have a coaching program and your student is obligated to do certain tasks, and he did do those tasks and still was unsatisfied. Okay, well, then you get a full refund. There's a conditional guarantee. There's still a guarantee attached to it. There's some conditions to it. The 30-day free trial is what I use for Copy Blogger Academy. And when it comes to membership sites, that is my personal favorite, because it still gives people plenty of time to check it out, to see what it's about, to see if they like it or not. And the consequences of losing that are still very, very small in relation to the growth and the reward that I get from offering that guarantee. There's the anti-guarantee. This is surprisingly effective. If you have a real high ticket dollar item and you tell people all sales are final, I don't care what you say, I'm not giving you any of your money back, it's actually like pretty good because people see that as a real sign of confidence and authority. I don't think this type of guarantee makes sense for the majority of businesses just because you want to de-risk it, right? Risk is the sales killer. There's the anti-guarantee is basically saying that you're the boss and you do whatever you want. And if they're like lucky enough to be working with you, then they should be grateful for it. It's not something that is really going to apply all the time, but when it does apply, it is very effective. All right. And then finally, there's implied guarantees. These are performance-based. So a lot of times with implied guarantees, you never actually give a guarantee. You don't have to specifically spell it out, but it's implied because if you book a revenue share deal, you say, I'll do this work and I want 30% of the profits. Well, okay. The implication is that the work I'm going to do is going to generate profits because if it wasn't, then I wouldn't be getting any money. So implied guarantees are usually always performance-based. Could be a revenue share, could be a profit share, could be some kind of bonus, it could be an equity deal. A lot of that, the deals that I make like on the side with some of the companies that I invest in are implied guarantees. They're performance-based. It has to do with me generating enough results to get a piece of the company. Again, these can be risky because if you aren't good at your job, then you're gonna basically be out of the money. But if you are highly skilled at a particular thing, implied guarantees, in my view, are the most valuable because you're getting a piece of the upside. All right, so let's look at some examples. And these are all real world examples. You can fact check me if you want, but this is exactly what I do. So for Copyblogger, like I said, there's a 30-day money back refund. It's risk-free. If you want to take advantage of the Copyblogger Academy, you have 30 days to try it out. And if you don't like it after 30 days, you just let us know. We'll give you your money back, no questions. So that is a conditional guarantee. Stasi Internet Marketing. Cancel at any time, but you do have to pay 50% of your monthly fee. So the contracts that we put together for Stasi make it so people can get out of their contract at any time. The risk when doing long-term contracts with service businesses is always that you're not satisfied with the service and you're stuck in it for a year or whatever the terms of the contract are, and you just have to pay this ridiculous payment that you hate and that you don't even want. And so it's a conditional guarantee. But the fact is that they can buy out of their contract at any minute. They just have to pay a fee. So if their deal is $10,000 a month, they can buy out of their contract at any time at $5,000, a one-time $5,000 fee. Contract is null and void, no questions asked. That is a conditional guarantee, but it really, really increases our conversion rates because although there's a fee attached to it, that feeling of that the de-risking makes it so that people are much more inclined to take the leap and to work with us. And then with TGS Digital, this is my personal consulting firm. There's no website for it. All of the leads come through my personal site through timstods.com. And in this case, there's no refunds, but you can cancel at any time. So there's no stipulations. It's an unconditional guarantee. You have to pay for the work that I did. So I don't get screwed over, but if you're not happy with it, cancel at any time, no questions asked. My conversion rate for clients that I work with TGS Digital is so much higher than it is for Stasi. But yeah, I guess you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt because I'm very, very selective with the people that I work with personally, just because I don't have a lot of time. So some rules of thumb. When selling products, 30-day guarantees are great. It's totally what I recommend. That's what I do basically every time. It's fair on both sides, and it makes it so that you're de-risking it, but it also makes it so that if you have a good product, most likely people aren't going to take advantage of you. And then when selling services, offering ways out of the contract has been most effective for me. Okay, we're almost done. There's some additional blocks to our sales letter. And next week, we're going to put all of these blocks together and actually formulate our sales letter. But I didn't want to take too much time on these because they're pretty simple to get through. So we're gonna end with these. You have to have a credibility statement on your sales page. Tell people about yourself and why you are qualified to present the solution that you are presenting. When creating a credibility statement, the bottom line is you just answer this question: why you? Why should anybody choose you? If you do that, you could put together a really good credibility statement. Your summary. You always want to summarize what it is that you're offering. And this is the instance in which bullet points aren't listing features, benefits, and meaning. In your sales page, you want to have a block where you just summarize the entire offer and you tell them very, very, very specifically. So let's say you have like a weekly newsletter. You tell them a newsletter delivered to you every Tuesday at 9 a.m. You tell them it's a 800-word newsletter that will have such and such and such and such. The specifics are very, very important when you summarize your offer because it wraps the whole thing up and it puts a bow on it so that people feel very, very comfortable that they know exactly what it is that they're spending their money on. Then there's bonuses. Bonuses are such an easy way to increase your sales. The reason why I didn't spend a whole section on bonuses is because I think they can be summarized in 3 quick bullet points, which is basically what I'm doing here. The best way to come up with good bonuses is to look at your competitors, find out exactly what it is that they're offering, their USP, their unique proposition, unique selling proposition. Excuse me, I had a mind blank there. So if you look at your competitors and you find out exactly what it is that they're offering, what makes them totally unique, and then offer that as a bonus, it is such a deal killer when you're going head to head with somebody that is adjacent to you in your industry. If you can take the biggest offer they have and you offer it as a bonus, man, your sales will just skyrocket. Up next, no crap bonuses. People aren't dumb. People know when you're just listing bonuses together because you're trying to convince them. They're like, oh, wow, I can't believe this is also good. And so don't do that. Make your bonuses meaningful and give away more than you think is fair. People are so reluctant because they think like, this is too much. I'm giving away too much. But the point isn't how much you give away. The point is how much you make. And so the more bonuses you give away, the more value you can add and the more you can charge. So this doesn't happen right away. Basically, I like to continue to add bonuses as I increase the price. And eventually you get to the point where the price of your product or your service can be so high that you can give away 10 more different bonuses and it doesn't matter because your return on investment is so high. Finally, your call to action. Call to action seems so self-explanatory, but a lot of people just get some of the basics wrong. Your CTA needs to stand out. Doesn't mean that it has to be yellow and red and flashing, but from a color and a design standpoint, they need to know where they need to click. Your user needs to know exactly where to click. You also need to make it perfectly clear what the next step should be. My favorite CTA is click here for ... The words click here make it so clear what the next step is. You don't say something like see what's behind this wall to take advantage of this magical offer. What does that even mean? What do I do? What do you want me to do? Oh, you want me to click here? Okay, good. That's what I'm going to do. So make your CTA perfectly clear. And also your CTA is a great opportunity to give additional reasons. So if you have a discount or if you have a deadline, you put these things at your CTA. And usually this is in conjunction with some kind of banner. So if you're giving away a discount, usually the discount code will be at a banner of the sales page. And if you have a deadline, the deadline will also be a banner of your sales page. But even still, people are going to be hovering over the CTA when they're making the decision, when they're really saying to themselves, oh, do I want to click this button or not? And so really reinforcing the fact that there's a deadline to this, reinforcing the fact that there's a temporary discount and you want them to click now, your call to action is a great place to do that. And last but not least, there is your postscript. We're going to go over your postscript as we formulate your sales letter. But your postscript is really just, it reinstates the benefits and it gets them to act now. And this is where you want to lean on them. I personally don't use FOMO. I use like fear of loss. It's not fear of missing out. It's fear of like, if I don't do this, this is what I'm not going to get. So I guess they're kind of the same as I say it out loud, but I'm not trying to hype something up to make it so like, oh my God, look at what's going on over there. Like, I want to be a part of that. It's much more along the lines of like 6 months from now, you're going to be in the same exact position you are now if you don't take advantage of this offer. That's what I like to use the postscripts for. Reinstate the benefits and make it perfectly clear what they're going to be missing out on if they don't take advantage. Thank you. That is it for this week's presentation. As I said, stay tuned next week where we're going to talk about the actual formulation of the sales page. We're going to create a sales page together. We're going to go through it block by block, and I'm just going to show you step by step exactly how to formulate it. This way, we're not writing a sales page. We're putting a sales page together bit by bit. We're building a little city of desire, just like Eugene Schwartz says. All right, everyone. Thank you once again so much. And I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.